This episode is supported by MonsterJoysticks.com. Level up your Raspberry Pi with our all-in-one arcade kit using genuine Sanwa arcade parts. And OneClickPrint.com for your photos on canvas, acrylic, gifts and more. Local craftsmen and global delivery.
It's 3D printer time again in the cave. Hello cave dwellers and welcome. What I've got here is an Flsun or Flsun Delta 3D printer. I was in a very privileged position after the review of the Creality Ender 3 Pro that appeared on the channel. It was my first 3D printer. I'm very much an amateur and I've been learning while you watch as we get more familiar with 3D printing, and it's come in so handy. I've printed mounting plates, back plates, a lot of non-3D things, to be honest, a lot of very 2D things, but it's coming incredibly useful and my skills are evolving more and more as I use it. So why did I get another 3D printer? Well, off the back of the success of that video, because it was viewed a lot of times, I've got a lot of emails from companies saying, can you review our 3D printer? And I said no to all of them because they just looked exactly the same. I didn't think they offered anything new. A lot of them just looked like cheap knockoffs. So I just passed on that and was happy with my Ender 3 until this came along, because this is a Delta printer. And let me explain the difference to you. So both types of printer use a coordinate system to print using a series of points in space, the X, Y and Z coordinates of course. But the Ender uses a linear motion system, so the extruder sits on a rail going from left to right and the bed moves back and forward. A Delta printer instead uses three arms that all move independently of one another. The bed is perfectly static, that doesn't move at all, and the arms fly around and supposedly it can hit all of those coordinates and therefore produce your 3D print a lot quicker than the linear rail method. Does that work? Is that true? Maybe, maybe not. We're going to find out today. At £229, this is just £5 more than the Ender 3. So it puts in pretty much exactly the same price bracket. I'm sure if you shop around, you could find it cheaper again. So, and there are links in the description, in fact, to where I got it from. And it's very clear what the goal is in the marketing gump from the company Flsun. They say our goal is to create a 3D printer that saves time for the customer while maintaining the same print quality. So we're going to put that to the test right now. I'm going to build it. It already looks like it's probably going to be easier to build than the Ender 3. There seems to be fewer parts. We'll figure that out shortly. And then we're going to put them in a drag race head to head next to each other. We'll give them the same 3D print and we'll see which one comes out quicker, if the quality is the same, and if this represents good value for money, and what advantages or disadvantages each type of printer has. Start your engines, let's rev them up and see how they perform. So this is very much an entry-level Delta printer. The manual even says your first Delta printer on the cover, like some kind of Fisher-Price toy. And that's fine, we know it's not pretending to be anything else but that. But when it comes to building a 3D printer, child's play is exactly how I want it to be. Unpacking this, I was struck by just how few parts there are in comparison to the Ender 3 Pro. This was the Ender laid out on the table before we built it, and there were so many parts I even felt compelled to create a build guide in the video because the instructions with it just weren't great. The Delta printer, in comparison, took about a third of the time to construct it and get it up and running, so you can easily do this in 15 minutes while sipping a coffee. Maybe 20 if you're really taking your time. The top of the unit here contains the power supply and a touchscreen on the front there with the protective film still over it. In each corner we mount a post to which a motor is already attached, we don't need to screw that onto it, and then we just connect the cables up to the motor. Those motors move the belts on each post, which in turn operate the arms. Just like the Ender, you won't need a single tool to build this, they all come with the unit, and there were even lots of extra tools that weren't needed to build it, so I guess there's just this standard tool pack that gets tossed in with most of these 3D printers these days to cover all eventualities, so we got some freebies thrown in. With all posts secured and connected, we put the base on, which clips into the posts. Then I flip the whole thing over so that it's the right way up and then screw the base into place. You'll notice it's a glass build plate there, which I've now upgraded my Ender 3 to, and I did it because the original bed that came with it had warped and it just kept causing me loads of problems. So the glass bed fixed all of those problems for me, and I'm really pleased to see that it comes as standard with this printer. Next, the arms attached, there's 6 of them in total,
And then the extruder, or effector module, as the manual seems to call it, is then connected to the arms. And now it starts to take shape. In fact, it takes shape into something my school books in the 80s perhaps told me that robots of the future would look like. I'm looking forward to seeing this in motion. Filament has to come from somewhere. This holder sits on top, so we screw that in, and then we pop a reel of 3D filament on there, which will feed down into the extruder. And that's pretty much it. We just make sure all of the color-coded cables are connected up, and we're ready to go.
I think we're nearly there. The last thing to do is just to apply a couple of cable ties here to tidy it up. Then we'll load it up with some filament. I'm just using some 1.75mm PLA. I've gone for a different colour to the Ender 3 so we can differentiate the prints. Where's the end of it? There it is. And we'll just feed that into the extruder. I've cut it at an angle, as you should, to get it in there nicely. Peel off the labels. Oh, nearly took the whole thing off the table. There we go. And now I think it's ready to go. So a quick comparison then between the two entry-level printers, my Ender 3 Pro, which has been working quite happily for a few months now, and the new Q5 here, the Delta printer. First thing you'll notice is the height of it. Delta printers generally seem to be higher. Doesn't mean that you can get a bigger print out of it, unfortunately. This is as high as our extruder goes, the nozzle's there. The arms don't go up any higher. It just needs that height for the arms to operate. So it is going to take up more space wherever you position it than this. Our Delta printer also loses points compared to the Ender in terms of the build plate size. It's certainly a smaller build plate, this round static build plate, but it does offer an advantage in the fact that this is auto leveling. The build plate itself doesn't move about, but there is a leveling method that's automatic compared to the manual one on the Ender here. So I'll show you that shortly because we'll need to do it before we can get printing. So we're going to get smaller prints out of this thing. But remember, the big advantage, the selling point, is of course the speed. So we've got to see if it will make up for it in speed. Our Delta printer does score some points though in its footprint. The overall footprint is much smaller. You haven't got that action of the plate moving back and forward, so you don't have to worry too much about what's around it. Obviously you want a little bit of clearance, but as long as you've got the height, you can squeeze this into a smaller space. And we should also probably consider the screens, the input method. There's a touch screen on the Delta printer here. You use a knob on the Ender over here, which I have to say I've never had a problem with. I can navigate the menus on here perfectly fine. A touchscreen is not necessarily a good thing. If it's a bad touchscreen that acts like a turn of the millennium Epson printer, nobody wants that. So let's get this turned on and we'll see how it operates, and I'll also show you that leveling. Let's plug it in. Okay, that's ready to go. Last thing then is to level up the bed using the auto leveling module here, which comes with it. It's magnetic, so it just clips on really easily. The module just seems to have a little switch on it on the bottom, so it magnetically clicks on like that, and there's a single cable to plug in. Right, we should be good for leveling now. Touchscreen is quite reflective actually, it's not particularly bright, so it's not a great first impression. But apparently we just click on Tool and then Auto Level. The auto leveling process kicks in then, and then it just uses that module to click around on the build plate in various places until it's satisfied that it knows exactly where everything is in its level. And it's so much easier. It took about, I don't know, about 4 minutes to go through the whole process, but it's just so much easier than the Ender 3 Pro. And once it's got all those points, it does then need to zero the Z-axis. So you take a piece of A4 paper, put it on the bed, press the button on the menu, and it will bring the nozzle down because you've taken the auto leveling module off at this point, and it will just touch on that paper, and you just set it up and down until it's scraping across the paper gently. Exactly the same as we did with the Ender 3 Pro. This is pretty typical of a 3D printer. there we go, it's all ready to go. And I have to say, top marks for this. It's an easy build, it's very easy to set up and get going for your first print. So as a beginner in 3D printing, so far so good. Even if you can't produce quite as big a print, if it's enough for what you expect to use it for, top marks so far for the build. But it all comes down to the quality of the print and the promised high speed of the print. So let's give both of these printers exactly the same thing to print. Let's press the green button and see which one finishes first and if it's actually any good. Here we go, the race is on. So, head to head, 2 printers, 1 print file sliced for each printer model using the default settings in Cura. I've not made any tweaks to either of them in terms of how much infill there is or anything like that. This is just as a beginner might approach using these devices. The Q5 got up to temperature and began printing first, that smaller build plate quicker to heat, with what's very likely to be a similar heating element between the 2 printers. Away it goes with those really cool arms. It's really quite mesmerising to watch this thing in action. The Ender 3 then got up to temperature about a minute later, and then it entered the race. Or did it? Well, not quite, because this is a problem that owners will know all too well, and it's something I've had to deal with many times. If you don't quite get the bed levelled correctly, all sorts can happen. And here, the gap between the nozzle and the bed was a little bit too large. There was no adhesion between the PLA and the bed, and it just all went horribly wrong. So I spent 7 or 8 minutes triple checking that the bed was level on the Ender and then set it about printing again. The Q5 meanwhile forged on that auto leveling feature. Really seems to have worked nicely. And so it's going to be an easy victory for the Q5. Well, you'd think so, but then something really quite unexpected happened. The Ender, despite its full start, slowly but surely began to claw back the difference. As time went by, the gap got smaller and smaller until eventually at around 3 hours and 34 minutes, the Ender had finished the print job. Even with that screw up at the start, I didn't see that coming at all. And not only that, it would be another 45 minutes before the Q5 finished the print job. Yeah, an unexpected result as this whirs away next to me. And when I get an unexpected result, the question I always ask myself is, what have I done wrong? Because usually, and I know this from years of experience in supporting IT, it's usually the bag of meat that's operating the machine that's the problem. In this case, me. So I looked into it further. First thing I did was I printed a different model because it might have been something specific with this model that favoured the Ender 3 over the Q5. That didn't work out too well. I went for the Eiffel Tower here, almost perfectly on the Ender, except for the Mr. Whippy top. And it was a complete mess on the Q5, but I'm not going to judge the Q5 on that because anyone who has a 3D printer knows you just have to have one little thing out, you turn your back and you come back to a mess. You can't judge the quality of a 3D printer on one bad print alone. So back to the drawing board, and I looked for more settings, specifically speed settings, and I found on the device itself there is in fact a speed setting that appears when a print is in progress. You can increase the speed all the way up to 500%. That's the speed of the movement, and also the speed of the extruder. Let me take that up to 200%. So I ran the same print again with those speed settings increased, and I only let it get halfway through the job, to be honest, because it took 2 hours to get there, and it was clear it was going to take exactly the same time to produce exactly the same print, despite having turned up those speed settings. So that was baffling, and I turned then to Cura, the piece of software that I used to slice the models. Now, the Ender 3 Pro there's a profile within Cura. You just select that printer and away you go. With the Q5, there isn't one specifically for this printer. There's one for the Flsun Q5, which is similar. So I used that and then I modified the settings to decrease the base plate to 200mm. Everything else was the same. So I looked back in the settings. There is indeed a speed setting that defaults to 60. So I doubled it. I took it up to 120, sliced the file again, put it in here, and that's what it's printing here now. And I've also turned this up to 200% for the movement and 150% for the extruder. I didn't want to take things to extremes. I know it can go higher according to the screen. That's what I've done, and it's printing away now. So the clock is ticking. Let's see if it comes out quicker this time. Exactly the same model as before. The benchmark was, I think it was 4 hours 25 minutes it took first time round. 3 hours 35 minutes or thereabouts to beat for the Ender 3. Let's see what happens. And that's what's come out of it 2.5 hours later. Yes, 2.5 hours. It's smashed its previous time. It's smashed the Ender 3 Pro's time. And most importantly, the quality is exactly the same to my eye. I can't see any problems with this whatsoever compared to the previous print or the print from the Ender 3 Pro. So that is a result. But let's not be under any illusions that this is anything but an entry-level Delta printer. It's not really the speed that impresses me. It's just the package as a whole, what you get for your money. The ease of the build, the self-leveling, the glass plate, all built in. I think it's a nice package, and I think it is a very valid choice for an entry-level 3D printer. Is it an upgrade from the Ender 3 Pro? Absolutely not. A sidestep, I would say. I'd put them on a par. They have their pros and cons, and you've got to figure out for yourself from my previous review of that one and this one, which one suits you better. I think the thing you'll probably be thinking about the most is the space and also the size of the build plate. I'll probably be using this one the most, I think, in terms of the things that I do, just to use the extra speed that this gives me and the ease of the self-leveling. I think this is the one that I'm going to default to, but I'll probably have both of them going at the same time for larger projects just because I've got the luxury of being able to do that. It's a very privileged position to be in. Mr. 2 3D printers here. As always, I hope that watching me has helped you with your own purchasing choices. And if you haven't already delved into the world of 3D printing, then maybe this is the first step that you'll take. Everything you need to know, all of the things that we've looked at today, you'll find the links in the video description. As always, thank you for watching and take care everyone. Bye-bye.